one man changed the course of history forever. A warrior so fierce, his name struck fear into kings. A leader so brilliant, he forged the largest empire the world has ever seen. This is the story of Genghis Khan, the outcast who became a legend.
Subscribe for more epic historical narratives.
Genghis Khan, originally named Temujin, was born around 1162 AD near the confluence of the Onon and Balj rivers at Delun Boldog, located in present-day Khenti province, Mongolia. This area lies south of the modern-day Russia-Mongolia border. During Temujin's time, the term Mongol referred specifically to one of the many tribes inhabiting the northeastern regions of what is now Mongolia. The broader region, encompassing parts of present-day Mongolia and southern Siberia, was home to various Mongolic-speaking tribes, including the Buryats, who resided south and east of Lake Baikal. These tribes shared linguistic and cultural ties, contributing to a collective Mongolic identity. Therefore, while Temujin's birthplace is geographically close to Siberia, his cultural and tribal affiliations were distinctly Mongolian. At its peak, the Mongol Empire spanned approximately 24 million square kilometers, 9.27 million square miles, making it the largest contiguous land empire in history. The land area of the United States could fit into the Mongol Empire approximately 2.62 times. At the age of 9, his father, Yesugei, was assassinated, leaving his family vulnerable and abandoned by their tribe. Under the guidance of his mother, Hoelun, Temujin learned the importance of unity and leadership. These formative experiences instilled in him a profound understanding of tribal dynamics and the necessity of forging strong alliances. The Mongolian steppe is vast, harsh, and merciless. It does not nurture weakness. From the moment his father was poisoned, young Temujin understood one thing: survival would not be given. It had to be taken. At 9, he hunted to keep his family alive. At 12, he mastered the horse, the only true companion of a warrior. By 14, he fought not for survival, but for dominance. The wrestling pits toughened his body, the bow sharpened his aim, and the blade forged his will. But the true test of a warrior is not in training, it is in war. At 15, the Taichi-ud caged him, believing him broken. But a warrior's chains are only temporary. He escaped, not to hide, but to return stronger. Strength alone, however, would not secure his future. In the Mongolian steppe, alliances were as powerful as swords, and Temujin already had one waiting for him, sealed years ago, before his trials had begun. When he was just a boy, his father, Yesugei, had arranged his betrothal to Berta, the daughter of a respected Ongirat chieftain. Among the nomadic tribes, marriage was not merely a union of hearts, but of clans, a strategic bond that could mean the difference between survival and oblivion.
Daisekin, old friend, we have known each other many years. Our fathers stood as allies, and we have traded horses and steel in times of peace. The tribes shift like the winds, and alliances must be secured, not by words alone, but by blood.
You speak truth, Yesugei. The steppe is a fickle beast, today a friend, tomorrow an enemy. Tell me, what is it you seek?
My son, Temujin, is of age to learn the ways of leadership. He is strong, sharp for his years. The blood of the wolves runs in him.
Temujin, I have heard of him. A boy of 9, is he not? And yet you say he has the heart of a warrior?
He has endured hardship beyond his years. He is not merely a boy, he is a son of the Blue Wolf. He will lead men, command respect. One day, he will unite more than just our clans.
Big words for a small boy, but I do not doubt your bloodline. Berta is a child of honor, wise beyond her years. She will make a strong wife, sharp of mind, steady of heart. If your son is truly destined for greatness, she will be the one to temper his fire.
Then let it be done. My son will be wed to your daughter when the time comes.
Then I accept. Berta shall be promised to Temujin, but he must return for her when he is of age. Let him live among my people for a time, learn our ways. Only then will he be worthy of a daughter of the Ongirat.
A fair demand. He will grow strong in your care and return to claim her not as a boy but as a man.
Then it is settled. May the Sky Father guide their fates.
Now, at 16 or 17, he was no longer the boy who had once been left for dead. He had escaped captivity, hardened by suffering, sharpened by experience. And with his newfound resolve, he returned to claim Berta as his wife, not just to fulfill an old promise, but to take his first step towards something greater. By the time Temujin was around 16 or 17 years old, 1178 to 1179 AD, he had grown strong and returned to the Ongirat tribe to claim Berta as his wife, fulfilling the betrothal arranged by their fathers years before. Berta's family honoured the agreement, and their wedding took place with full Mongol tradition. As part of the marriage customs, Berta's family presented Temujin with a luxurious black sable coat, a highly valuable gift symbolising status and wealth. However, shortly after their marriage, Berta was kidnapped by the Merkit tribe, a powerful rival group. The Merkits raided Temujin's camp at night, seizing Berta as revenge for an old grudge. Temujin's father, Yesugei, had once stolen a Merkit woman, Temujin's mother, Hurlun, years earlier, and the Merkits sought retribution by abducting his son's wife. The smoke from the burning camp coiled into the sky like an omen. The Merkits had taken more than just a woman. They had taken the future Khatun of the Mongols, and Temujin would stop at nothing to take her back. But even his fury was not enough. Temujin had fought battles before, but never had he faced an enemy so organised, so ruthless. The Merkits were a strong tribe, their warriors hardened by generations of war, and he knew that even with the men still loyal to him, they would be outnumbered. He needed more than rage. He needed an army. So he turned to Togrul Khan, the leader of the Kerate tribe. Temujin offered the luxurious black sable coat he had received from Berta's family to Togrul Khan as a tribute, securing his military support.
A fine gift, Temujin. Sable this rich does not come from weak hands. It is the kind of tribute a great Khan receives. But you are no Khan, not yet.
I do not bring it as mere tribute. I bring it as a seal of war.
War? And what war do you bring to my doorstep, son of Yesugei? You have no armies, no great banners fly for you, yet you kneel before me, speaking of war.
The Merkits have taken my wife. They believe me weak. They believe me broken. Give me your warriors, and I will show them what it means to make an enemy of me.
So, you would trade this coat for revenge? That is a poor bargain, Temujin.
Not revenge. Strength. I do not seek blood for my own pride. I seek it to take what is mine. Berta is my wife, my future, my honor. And to reclaim her, I do not ask for your pity. I ask for warriors. Give me men, and I will give you loyalty.
Loyalty, you say? Do you know the weight of such a word? Men speak of loyalty until it is tested by gold and steel. What makes your word different?
Because I do not break. Because I do not kneel to men. I ride beside them. I do not ask for a handout, Togrul Khan. I ask for a brotherhood. Give me warriors, and when I rise, I will not forget the hands that lifted me.
A brotherhood, you say? And what will you give me when your banners do fly high?
A Khan does not forget the hands that built his throne.
Then we ride at dawn.
Togrul's men had come, but it was not enough. The Merkits were many. He needed more. And so he rode to Jamuka. The sun dipped low as they crested a hill, revealing Yamuka's vast camp below. White yurts sprawling across the valley, banners of gold and crimson snapping in the wind. Warriors trained in the open, their swords flashing in the dying light. At the heart of it stood Jamuka, watching. Once his brother, his closest ally, now a leader of his own, powerful, unreadable. Temujin did not come for friendship. He came for war.
It has been a long time, Temujin. You arrive with warriors at my doorstep. Should I welcome you as a brother or a rival?
Today I come as neither. I come for war.
And what war does the boy I once knew seek now?
The Merkits took Berta. They believe I will let them keep what is mine.
You do not ask for warriors. You ask for loyalty.
I ask for a brother to ride with me.
A brother, is it? Then let us see if you still ride as one.
As a test of leadership, Jamuka organized a ritual horse race and archery contest, a Mongol tradition where warriors proved their worth. Though fewer in number, Temujin's men rode with precision and endurance, their horses swift, their movements disciplined. In archery, they took no wasted shots, each arrow striking true, displaying patience and control. Jamuka's warriors, many from noble bloodlines, watched with growing respect. These were not just fighters, they were tacticians forged by hardship. Temujin's strength was clear, not in numbers, but in discipline. Jamuka's nobles feasted lavishly, confident in their strength. Temujin's warriors sat apart, silent, disciplined, focused. They did not feast for celebration. They feasted for war. Across the flames, Temujin and Jamuka locked eyes. Tonight, they were allies. But both knew, not for long. Dawn painted the steppe in crimson and gold, the embers of the feast still smouldering. Then, the war horn sounded. The camp erupted into motion. Warriors fastened armor, tightened saddles, and gripped their bows. Horses snorted, sensing battle. From the hilltop, Temujin surveyed his army, 20,000 warriors. His 2,000 hardened men, 10,000 from Togrul Khan, and 7,000 from Jamuka. A sea of riders stretching to the horizon. With a single command, they rode. Hooves thundered, banners snapped, dust swallowed the steppe. Ahead, the Merkits lay unsuspecting. Tonight, they would be nothing but a name in the wind. The final hill was behind them. Below, the Merkit camp lay silent, smoke curling from yurts, warriors unaware. Then, the war cries came. Temujin dropped his arm, and the Mongol horde thundered forward. Dust rose, arrows darkened the sky, and panic spread before the Merkits could reach their weapons. Jamuka's forces sealed their escape, trapping them against the river. Some fought, most ran. There was no escape. Steel clashed, yurts burned, screams filled the air. Temujin rode forward, his saber wet with blood. Somewhere in the chaos, Berta was waiting. By sunset, the battle was over. The Merkit tribe lay in ruins, its warriors slaughtered, its yurts reduced to smouldering embers. Of their 7,000 fighters, fewer than 1,000 escaped, fleeing into the forests, scattered and broken. Temujin's losses were minimal, fewer than 2,000 dead. His army remained strong, hardened by victory. As the dust settled, the steppe was silent, save for the crackling of burning wood and the distant cries of the wounded. Temujin had won. The Merkits were no more. The surviving Merkits knelt in silence. Warriors who resisted were executed. The strongest were given a choice, serve or die. Some swore loyalty, others fell. Women and children were taken as captives, absorbed into Mongol households. The Merkits were no more, their warriors dead, their tribe erased. Through the smoke and ruin, Temujin found Berta, and for the first time in war, he felt victorious. The Merkit survivors would regroup, and he would destroy them once and for all in 1204 AD. At the age of 24, 1186 AD, Temujin was elected Khan of the Mongols, a move that displeased Jamuka, who favoured traditional aristocratic privileges. This ideological difference led to a rift between the two. The tension culminated in the Battle of Dalan Baljut, where Jamuka's forces defeated Temujin. However, Jamuka's brutal treatment of prisoners, including boiling 70 young men alive, led many of his followers to defect to Temujin, who was seen as a more just and humane leader. By ages 28 to 38, in 1190 AD, Temujin continued to consolidate power. gradually uniting the Mongol tribes under his leadership. His emphasis on meritocracy and loyalty attracted many followers, setting the foundation for the Mongol Empire.
For too long we have fought one another, brother against brother, tribe against tribe. We have been weak, not because of our enemies, but because of our divisions. But today that ends. I do not ask you to forget the bloodshed of the past. I ask you to look beyond it. The steppe does not belong to the strongest tribe. It belongs to the strongest leader. And together, under one banner, we are stronger than any enemy that stands before us.
I was a herder's son, a nameless man. But under Temujin, I became a warrior, not because of my blood, but because of my strength. He gives loyalty to those who earn it, not just to those born to it. This is why I follow him.
I have fought beside many men, but none who think as he does. He is not just a Khan. He is the storm that will reshape the world. I stand with him.
For generations we have lived by the traditions of our ancestors. Why should we throw them aside to follow you?
Did tradition save you when your enemies burned your herds? When your warriors died in feuds that meant nothing? I do not ask you to abandon our ways. I ask you to abandon weakness. Follow me, and I will give you more than survival. I will give you a future.
We follow you, Temujin. No longer as scattered tribes, but as one people.
From this day forward, we are no longer Burkhan Khaldun, Jadaran, Karait, or Naiman. We are Mongols, and under my rule, the world will know our name.
One by one, the chieftains stepped forward, pressing their fists to their chests in a warrior's oath. As Temujin consolidated power, he reorganized the Mongol military structure into a decimal system, forming units of 10 Arban, 100 Zuun, 1,000 Miangan, and 10,000 Tumen. This reorganization allowed for efficient mobilization of troops, with estimates suggesting he could command up to 95,000 cavalrymen by the early 13th century. In 1201 AD, Jamukha is declared Gur Khan the universal leader, leading a coalition against Temujin. With 30,000 to 40,000 warriors, Temujin clashes with an equal force on the steppe. His discipline crushes Jamukha's army. By nightfall, the coalition is broken. Warriors flee, banners fall. Jamukha escapes into the mountains, but his reign is over. In 1204 AD, at the age of 42, the campaign against the Naiman tribe saw Temujin commanding approximately 50,000 troops, successfully defeating the Naimans and further consolidating his power. After defeating the Naimans, Temujin's army swelled to 70,000 to 80,000 warriors, solidifying his dominance over the Mongol steppes. With one of the last major tribes crushed, his path to unifying Mongolia was clear. By 1206 AD, Temujin had united all Mongol tribes through war and strategy. At a Kurultai near the Onon River, Mongol chieftains gathered, their banners whipping in the wind. As Temujin stood before them, once rival leaders knelt, pressing fists to their chests in submission. He was proclaimed Genghis Khan, universal ruler, marking the birth of the Mongol Empire. His warriors swore absolute loyalty, and the world would soon feel the power of his unstoppable army. With all Mongol tribes united, Genghis Khan turned his gaze outward. Peace was never the goal, conquest was. He believed Tengri, the eternal blue sky, had chosen him to rule the world. The Mongols needed more: land, trade, tribute, and respect. Those who defied him weren't just rivals, they challenged destiny. In 1207 AD, the Mongol conquest began, not for plunder, but for purpose. What began as survival became domination. His first target was the Western Xia, an empire of fortified cities, desert palaces, and ancient traditions nestled along the Silk Road. They believed their high walls and mountain passes would protect them. They were wrong. In 1209, Genghis Khan, age 47, led over 50,000 cavalry into Tangut territory. He brought with him not just warriors, but silence, precision, pressure.
We do not batter walls, we break what feeds them. They sit behind stone and silk, but every gate leads to a road, and every road ends with grain. Seal the trade, burn the caravans, turn their towers into tombs.
And the Yellow River, my Khan. Their lifeblood flows from it. So do ours, if it turns on us.
Then we guide it, not like water, like a blade. We dam the tributaries, dig the channels here and here. We flood their fields, rot their grain. If the walls will not fall, the earth beneath them will.
The southern trade routes closed within a week. Their merchants already flee east. Shall we leave the western pass open to bait their runners?
Yes, let them try to call for help. Let them scream into the dust. And when they do, we'll be waiting. We don't just conquer cities, we conquer time. And in time, they will kneel.
Your Majesty, Mongol banners on the eastern ridge, more than 50,000 strong. Scouts trail our trade routes. Supply fires burn behind them.
So the silence arrives cloaked in fire. Summon the council. We speak not of peace tonight, but preservation.
He starves, not strikes. Cuts the legs before touching the throat. But walls don't yield, and neither do we.
This Khan, he's not a nomad warlord. He rerouted rivers in the east. He doesn't siege like the Chinese. He surrounds, then waits.
For him, victory isn't enough. He wants the world to remember our fall.
Let him remember fire. We flood the south canals, reinforce the northern gate, signal the last of the outposts. This time, no messengers return. Tonight, we are not debating survival. We are choosing how history will speak our name.
As the emperor's orders echoed down the marble halls, the city of Zhongqing stirred. Messengers rode to distant outposts. Soldiers flooded the gates. Grain was hoarded, gates sealed, lanterns dimmed, and from the ridges beyond, the silence of hooves grew louder. The steppe held its breath. Mongol riders gripped their bows. Jia spears rose in unison. No words, no movement, just wind and the weight of what was coming.
You have what you came for. Fear. Cities burn, people kneel, but this land has not yet fallen.
It did the moment you closed your gates and called yourself safe.
Western Xia does not bow to storms. We endure them.
Storms pass. What I bring stays.
Then let history write that we stood, even if only for a breath longer.
There will be no history.
Then, a horn, low and long. The earth answered with thunder. Hooves struck like drums. Arrows screamed through the air before blades ever met. The Mongol wave surged forward. The Xia wall held. Steel met will. Dust became smoke, and silence was no more. The Xia wall broke, not all at once, but in shivers. Their lines fell back to the city. Zhongqing's gates slammed shut. Their empire was now a fortress and a trap. Genghis did not chase. He circled, he surrounded, he starved them like wolves do prey. Where roads once brought silk and grain, now came silence. The Western Xia were still alive, but they would never breathe as a dynasty again. In 1210, the Western Xia bowed. They gave Genghis soldiers, silver, and a daughter. It was peace, bought with silence and sealed in fear. And for a time, Genghis turned his gaze elsewhere. The Tanguts had bowed, the silk flowed, but Genghis wasn't built for tribute. In 1211, he rode through the Great Wall, not with ladders or siege towers, but with momentum and memory. Over 100,000 Mongol riders swept into Jin territory, where every walled city thought itself safe. The Jin Empire had the numbers, fortresses, steel, but Genghis had silence, movement, lightning on horseback. He split his army into columns, each acting as one, but striking from 5 directions. Where Jin generals expected battle, they found ghost trails. Where they thought the Mongols had fled, they returned. His warriors didn't camp, they moved. They didn't siege, they encircled. By 1213, Mongols controlled most of the Jin countryside. The cities stood like islands, watching the tide rise. And in 1215, the tide reached Zhongdu, modern-day Beijing. Genghis cut off all roads, burned the fields, and waited. When famine struck, so did fire. The city fell. The Jin emperor fled south. His capital was left to ash, his throne buried beneath hooves. When Zhongdu fell, Genghis Khan gained more than a city. He gained the beating heart of northern China. He looted its treasuries: gold, silver, bolts of silk, jade, grain and salt. Wealth that fed his armies and fueled his next war. But what he took was not just riches, it was knowledge. He spared engineers who built walls, artisans who forged steel, architects, scribes, and administrators, men who had mastered the tools of empire. The Mongols had lived on the move. Now they controlled fields that grew rice, cities with trade route. By 1218, Genghis Khan was ready to ride west. But the Kara Kitai, ruled by the Naiman Prince Kuchlug, stood in his path. Once a Chinese dynasty, now a hollow empire oppressing its people. Genghis sent one man, General Jeba, with a promise: freedom for the faithful. City by city, the people rose. When Jebe reached Balasagun, Kuchlug was already captured. With no army left to resist, the Karakitai vanished. The Silk Road was open, and the Khwarezmian Empire was next. It was vast, stretching across modern-day Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, and Kazakhstan. Its cities, Samarkand, Bukhara, and Nishapur, were jewels of trade and learning, shining with gold, minarets, and scrolls. But Genghis Khan did not begin with war. He sent merchants, hundreds of them, bearing silver, silk, and a treaty of peace. The Shah of Khwarezm saw weakness. He seized the caravan, tortured the merchants, and sent their mutilated bodies back across the desert. Genghis Khan then sent 3 envoys, diplomats, untouched by war. The Shah beheaded one and shaved the others as a sign of humiliation. This was no longer politics, it was a declaration of war against heaven. Genghis Khan did not send a reply. He sent 150,000 riders. Each arrow carried the silence of a murdered merchant. Each hoofbeat was a name never spoken again. From the north, they crossed the Tian Shan Mountains. From the east, they swept through the Otrar frontier. The Shah laughed when he heard the Mongols were coming. He had cities with stone walls, men in steel helmets, armies twice their size. But he had never fought a storm. In 1220, the gates of Bukhara closed, and the first shadow fell. The Shah did not ride to defend Bukhara. He fled, leaving the city to fend for itself. Genghis Khan broke their outer defences within days. He didn't batter the gates. He found a dried riverbed, an old forgotten wound beneath the walls, and poured his army through it. Genghis Khan entered Bukhara not as a conqueror, but as a storm. He rode into the grand mosque, climbed the pulpit, and declared,
I am the punishment of God. If you had not sinned greatly, he would not have sent me upon you.
The city's nobles were executed. Artisans and scholars were spared to build for the Mongols. The rest were left to fire and sword. Bukhara fell with a whisper, and then it burned. Bukhara had fallen, but it was not the crown. Samarkand, golden, walled, and proud, was the heart of Khwarezm. Behind walls 4 times thicker than Bukhara's, 100,000 defenders waited. Soldiers, archers, mercenaries from every corner of Persia. Genghis Khan did not hesitate. He divided his forces into 3 tides, one to crush resistance in the countryside, one to cut every road, one to strike the walls like thunder. The city was surrounded, not just by soldiers, but by silence. No food, no help, no escape. Samarkand was not broken by force alone. It was broken by fear. But Genghis Khan was not finished. The cities of Khwarezm smouldered behind him, but the horizon called louder than the ruins. To the west, beyond the deserts and the steppes, new kingdoms rose, proud, rich, unaware. And so, Genghis unleashed the storm again, sending 2 wolves, Subutai and Jebi, to scout, to punish, and to prepare the world for what was coming. The lands we now call Georgia, Azerbaijan, Russia, Ukraine, all would tremble beneath the hooves of the Mongol horse. The wildfire spread west. The mountains of Georgia were the first to bleed. In 1222, Mongol riders stormed through the snow-choked Caucasus. The armored knights of Georgia fell. Tbilisi and Rustavi burned. Across the steppes of southern Russia, Mongols swallowed village after village. The Cumans fled. The Kievan Rus gathered near the Kalka River. The princes rode out, armoured, proud, certain of victory. The Mongols feigned retreat and turned. 3 days later, the Kalka ran red with blood. The princes of Rus suffocated beneath Mongol feast tables. From Georgia to the Black Sea, from the Dnieper to the Don, the world cracked open. And still, the hoofbeats thundered onward. In 1226, at age 65, the eternal blue sky called Genghis Khan west one final time, to the windswept Ordos Desert and the rugged Helan Mountains of Tangut-land, modern-day Ningxia, China. Across shifting sands and the winding currents of the Yellow River, white and red Tangut banners fluttered over stone fortresses, carved wooden gateways, and golden Buddhist pagodas. At his command, Mongol warriors surged across the plains, charging beneath fluttering prayer flags, horns echoing from distant temple towers. At Yinchuan, the western Xia capital, Mongol siege towers rose like giants. Bamboo fire lances crackled, and battering rams splintered the iron-bound gates. Inside, monks in saffron robes chanted desperately, their iron drums drowned beneath Mongol war drums and endless volleys of arrows. But amidst victory, illness overtook the great Khan. Wounded, feverish, his body weakened, yet his spirit unyielding, Genghis stared fiercely at distant mountains and the unconquered horizon. By 1227, the empire he had carved from the steppes stretched from sunrise over the Pacific to sunset across the Caspian Sea. Yet he never paused to rule it, never sat long upon a peaceful throne. His joy was not in gold or cities. It was in the thunder of hooves, the breath of battle, the endless open sky. When the world finally knelt, he had already begun his final ride. In August 1227, beneath the vast, eternal blue sky, the 65-year-old conqueror drew his final breath. They buried him secretly among the Ordo sands, the location of his tomb whispered only by the winds. Yet his empire endured, a realm united by loyalty, forged in iron, and sealed by the unbreakable will of one man. He conquered the earth, but it was the sky that carried his soul forever onward. The sands of the Ordos covered his body. The mountains swallowed his name. The empire he carved would change hands, but Genghis Khan never truly vanished. He lives still, not just in monuments, not in forgotten battlefields, but in the blood of millions. Today, around 0.5% of the world's male population, nearly 16 million men, bear the bloodline of his empire. An empire carved in iron and fire became an empire etched in flesh and bone. From the endless steppe to the crowded cities of today, the legacy of Genghis Khan still rides with us. But history is filled with more forgotten conquerors, untold empires, and vanished worlds. What story should we uncover next? drop your ideas and special requests in the comments, and join us for the next journey beyond the horizon.